If you're big into adventure games, 2016 is going to be great. That's why GameRanks is bringing you today's list of 10 new adventure games in 2016. Number 10, Telltale's Game of Thrones Season 2. There's a lot that happened in the first season of the companion series to the show, which if you haven't played and enjoyed Telltale games and Game of Thrones, it's basically like, what are you doing? The first season followed Roderick of House Forrester, and a lot of stuff went wrong. Now, I'm trying to stay as spoiler-free as I possibly can because there's several different outcomes. Essentially, the game follows stories that are going on while the show's stories are going on, albeit a few seasons back, and it provides a different perspective on the world events, and it gives you another thread and cast of characters to follow and inevitably lose at some point during some season, and everybody feels horrible. Because that's kind of what Game of Thrones is for, right? Number 9, Zero Time Dilemma is the third game in the Zero Escape series, which is a really weird series if you played it, but it kind of works in its own little world. You're in a kidnapping situation, it's constantly life or death based on puzzles. In some ways, it's kind of like the Saw series, except for a lot more Japanese, and in other ways, it's completely different. It's pretty unique. The other two games are enjoyable, and this entry promises to wrap up all the mysteries from the series. Number 8, Oxenfree is an adventure game that sets itself apart by having a very different art style and doing dialogue not through cutscenes but through speech bubbles. That really caught my eye when I first saw a trailer for it. Basically what happens is the characters are teenagers, they go to an abandoned island and accidentally open a supernatural rift. Out through the rift basically come creatures and the atmosphere becomes very tense and heightened. You're forced to sort of figure out how to relate to the other people trapped on the island as well as overcome the creatures. The atmosphere for being a 2.5D game with like not really that creepy of an art style immediately. This is a creepy game. Number 7, Thimbleweed Park, which is a point and click being developed by the creators of Maniac Mansion and The Secret of Monkey Island. In fact, it's the spiritual successor to those games. The plot goes, there's a murder in the town of Thimbleweed Park, and two detectives by the names of Angela Ray and Antonio Reyes do what detectives do and investigate it. It retains the kind of weird charm that the games mentioned earlier have, and their hope is to make it seem like an undiscovered LucasArts game that you just uncovered and transports you back to 1987. Number 6, Cathy Rain came out a couple months ago and really is kind of a classic already. As far as point-and-click adventure games go, there hasn't been a whole lot of them in recent years, and Cathy Rain is one of the better examples of such. The plot itself is fantastic and most of the characters extremely well realized. The main character's proven to be a bit divisive amongst various types of gamers, but frankly the game is too good to give too many dents for that. Cathy Rain is one of those games that makes you go, oh yeah, that genre should come back. Thankfully it is. Number 5, The Witness is a gorgeous game reminiscent of Myst and brings all those environmental puzzle elements into a large open world island. What's really great about The Witness is the game appears to be a collection of puzzles, but as it turns out is one single puzzle. At least in a sense. The game itself is the puzzle, and the puzzle is cyclical. Now I'm not going to say what the hell that means, I'm just hoping to get you intrigued, because it is definitely a worthwhile game to complete. Number 4, The Walking Dead Season 3, which is definitely going to see the return of Clementine, but we don't know much else about it besides that. But what we can say is that the Walking Dead series essentially revived the adventure game genre. Not necessarily single-handedly, but it really brought a lot of attention to it through both its story, characters, and episodic model. Now the story diverges based on the player, so it's really hard to give you a summary of it, but I found Season 2 even better than Season 1. Not everybody agrees on that, but I loved it. I'm really excited for the next season of what's kind of the episodic adventure series. Number 3, Batman, a Telltale Games series. Maybe you didn't hear me when I was talking about The Walking Dead. Telltale Games had a big hand in reviving this genre, and I gotta say their Batman series looks really cool. The screens that we've seen of it give kind of a modern cartoon feel to it, but at the same time, it looks a little bit more gritty than your typical Telltale game. Now, a lot of people have asked the question, will combat be included? And they haven't really said anything about it, but I would guess that probably not. Or it will be QTE-based combat, but it's really hard to make the assertion that they would change up their entire formula just because it's Batman. Batman is also very story-centric and can be very interesting and deep, so I would expect them to go more down that route. I mean, if you need beat-em-up Batman, there is beat-em-up Batman, and it's great too, but I have a feeling this is going to be dealing with the more psychological elements of Batman as well as detective elements. Number 2, Firewatch. I did it before you buy for this. Firewatch is phenomenal. I I enjoy this game so much. Firewatch is also already out, so like a few other games on this list, you can get it now. It's one of those games that builds to something and then it's really not what you think it is. And it's great. It's such an enjoyable experience. It's gorgeous. The color palette is just so rich in sun, if that makes any sense. And you really get to know these characters. It's so well voice acted and written, and it really does an amazing job of creeping you out and letting you know how far the mind can wander if left alone. And finally, No Man's Sky, which is most certainly an adventure game. Yes, it is very much rooted in a lot of different genres, but adventure is absolutely the core of the game. And while there isn't exactly a plot per se, No Man's Sky is literally a perfect example of what an adventure is. It's a massive universe for you to explore and inhabit in a way that can be described in no other way than an adventure. It's probably the biggest game ever made in terms of ground covered and space covered for that matter. And so many of us are just so eager to dip into the pool that is this universe. It just appears to be such a different experience from everything else, and I just want to play it, man. A few bonus games for you: Deponia Doomsday, which is essentially a puzzle-based battle against time; King's Quest Chapter 3, which is the third episode of the reboot of the quintessential adventure game; Day of the Tentacle Remastered, which I'm excited to play 1993's sequel to Maniac Mansion again; Maze, which has the distinction of possibly having the best plot of all time. Two scientists misinterpret a memo from the government and create sentient corn; and Samorost 3, a point-and-click that features a cute main character who makes magic from music, all of which are worth your time and attention as well. Which adventure game are you looking forward to most this year? Let's meet in the comments and have a discussion about that. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, and if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and the best way to see them first is of course a subscription. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero. As always, we thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you again next time right here on GameRanks.